still. Hey, still. Let's go. I was born to kill it. I was meant to win. I am down and willing, so I will find a way. It took a minute, now it didn't happen right away. When it get hot in the kitchen, you decide to stay. That's how it winners made. Stick a fork in the hater on my dinner plate. I walk into the fire like it's just a bit of flame. I switch my style up, watch the money pile up. I'ma get rich with life.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Clydesdale Media Podcast, where we are featuring the athletes of the 2024 Legends Masters CrossFit Games. I don't know what the official title is. That's what I'm calling it. My name is Scott Switzer. I'm the Clydesdale, and I am so honored and privileged to have with me Hayley Queller.
That's right.
Got it. And Hayley has qualified in the 45 to 49-year-old division. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your background a little bit. What got you to here? And I read somewhere you were an All-American soccer player in college.
So I was an academic All-American, which is a little bit different than an All-American.
Pretty cool.
Thank you. I went to a small Division III college, and I did play soccer. And my final year as a soccer player, I was an academic All-American first team, which was pretty awesome. Certainly it was a bit due to my soccer abilities, but also tied to my academic prowess. So that was a pretty cool honor to get. And it would have been very cool to be an All-American, but I wasn't the best soccer player. But I certainly, I played well. And in Division III, it's hard to become an All-American. So academic is good enough. Yeah.
And probably does more for the rest of your life than just plain All-American.
True.
Yes. So did you always play soccer from a child forward, or did you do other sports as well?
I started playing soccer when I was 4, and I was elected to the traveling team by the time I was 5. And I played with the same travel team from the time I was 5 until I graduated high school. And I did play college soccer as well, and a little bit of adult league soccer. Throughout all of that, when I was younger, it wasn't that you played all year round like they do now. So I also picked up sports here and there. I played a little bit of basketball until I was the shortest kid on the team, and then I kind of quit that. But I did run track in high school, but didn't do any further track in college. Interestingly, in college, I did pick up a little bit of lacrosse, which we didn't have where I grew up. The lacrosse coach saw me play soccer and asked me to play a little bit. Wasn't my favorite sport, but I gave it a go. And then my senior year of college, I actually joined the women's golf team. It was 5 soccer players and 4 basketball players made up the golf team, mainly because of Title IX. We needed another women's sport, and we figured we would try that out. So I picked up a couple things here and there, but soccer was my main passion, my main sport.
Isn't it fascinating that when you were in college that you had to pick up another sport for Title IX just to be compliant, and where women's sports are today?
Right. Seriously.
Isn't that mind-blowing?
Yep.
Thank you, Caitlin Clark, and all the other women that came before her. Holy cow.
For sure.
So did soccer give you a good groundwork base to go into CrossFit?
I mean, I think with the athleticism that I had, I think it was a good foundation. But I still keep in touch with my soccer coach from college today. If I had known about CrossFit when I was in college or as a child, I would have been a much better soccer player. So I think CrossFit would help soccer more than soccer helps CrossFit.
Gotcha. What I've always lamented, and I've always thought of it in the reverse. So I was a swimmer, pretty high-end swimmer when I was a kid. I retired and there was nothing for me to go into. And so I dabbled in powerlifting. I dabbled in some other things, and nothing ever stuck. If there was CrossFit when I retired, my body would be in much better shape today than than it is.
Sure.
And so I always lament that aspect of it. But so you also are a doctor.
Yes.
I think you might be an overachiever. I'm not sure about that, but when did you decide that that is the field you wanted to go into in life?
When I was 6 years old, I was sick. I was in the hospital for about 10 days. And although I don't really remember the encounter, my mom tells me that every physician that walked in, I asked them 100 questions about 100 different things, that I was super intrigued by what they were doing and, how they were helping me. She also does tell me the story of how when I was going into the hospital, I told her that I never want to go in a hospital because that's where people die. And I learned a ton in retrospect about the medical field and how they helped me a great deal. And when I left the hospital, instead of saying I never want to enter another hospital again, I told my mom that I'm going to be a doctor one day. I didn't exactly know what that entailed, and I certainly didn't know what field of medicine I wanted to go into, but that was the kind of the moment where I said, that's what I'm going to do. And I really never looked back. Along the way, people said, oh, you would be a great blank, or, this or that. But I always said, well, that's not what I want to do. I want to be a doctor. I want to help people. And so from the time I was 5 until today, I've always said, this is what I want to do. And, I never really looked back.
I just, that blows me away. I'm a guy who had 18 different majors in college. But my daughter, she graduated, she knew what she wanted to be, like you, at like 6 years old.
Yeah.
Finished college in 4 years, became what she wanted to be, and it never looked back. It's always what she wanted. And that sounds like you had the very similar experience.
Yep.
So you're in sports medicine, but you're board certified in several practices: internal medicine, pediatrics, and sports medicine.
That's right. So I wanted to be a non-operative sports medicine provider, as I didn't want to do surgery. So in order to do that, you have to do a primary residency in something. And you may have alluded to it before, I'm a little bit of an overachiever. So instead of picking one primary residency, I decided to do a combined residency in both internal medicine and pediatrics to be able to get the full breadth of knowledge, medical knowledge, both in adults and pediatrics. And then from there, I was able to do a fellowship in sports medicine, specifically non-operative sports medicine.
So the non-operative aspect of it, I was digging into a little bit myself. Can you explain what that is for the audience and what you focus on mainly?
Sure. So the general non-operative or primary care sports medicine field can take on a lot of different hats. There's a lot of us that would work in a primary care setting, seeing routine primary care conditions, and also see musculoskeletal problems. There are a lot of primary care sports medicine doctors that are head team physicians in colleges at the international and national levels. But for myself, I really wanted to just do sports medicine. I didn't want to deal with coughs and colds and routine, health visits. I only see sports medicine. So in my practice, I actually work in an orthopedic practice, and I do everything that the orthopedist does until they need surgery. So whether it be, I evaluate patients, I do injections, I do regenerative medicine. I also have a fairly sizable concussion population. So that's kind of a little niche that I have. It's about a third of my practice. Could be more than that during football season, but in general, about a third of my practice is concussion management, which has, in the media has been a very large topic, and is in medicine a very underserved population. There's nobody really wants to tag themselves with that diagnosis. And it's something that I've kind of grown to really enjoy. And, many people in my community will end up coming through our door. There are others of us now in my practice that also treat concussion, but the neurologists don't want to treat it, the primary care doctors don't want to treat it, and it's something that I have a pretty good passion over.
I have a follow-up to that, but you have some friends in the chat, so Kelly Crivet is saying hi, HQ.
What's up, Kel?
AJ Golick is saying HQ. So do you go by HQ?
It's funny. Everybody calls me HQ. It was never something that I introduced myself as. But in my practice, in my job, we all go by our initials. That's how our templates are written for our schedules. So it always said HQ. And then when I went into the gym one day and somebody called me HQ, it kind of just stuck. So now both in my private practice as well as in the gym, it seemed to have stuck. So I don't mind it. It sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Way worse names out there to be called.
For sure.
So with the concussion thing, it has become such a hot topic, and there's so much more known about it today than like when I played football. That are you seeing an increase in patients because of the awareness we have today as opposed to 10, 15 years ago?
Definitely. People are definitely more knowledgeable about concussion, and they're also knowledgeable of the repercussions of not treating concussion, which I think is super important. When I first started, so in 2009, when I got to Long Island where I'm practicing, there was nobody treating concussion, and it was kind of like the Wild West. People would go see their pediatrician and get clearance or not even see anybody and just end up back on the field. And people realized that once we started an education process and what the repercussions are, and the whole NFL talking about CTE and all that stuff, it definitely people almost became very far to the other side where they were terrified of it, and it was the boogeyman. So the first couple of years of my practice, I spent a lot of time educating, a lot of time going into schools and talking about concussion and things to look out for and certain preventive measures that we can take, and to try to instill in these kids, like, okay, this isn't the boogeyman. It's an important thing to look for, and it's important thing to pay attention to, but we can recover from this, and we can certainly get people back on the field. I think a lot of people in the past thought, oh, as soon as I get a diagnosis of concussion, that's it, it's over, I'm not going to be able to play anymore. But I think people have a better understanding of what the treatment entails and how to become appropriately cleared before you play in order to mitigate any of those risks.
One interesting question I have for you is, you're the mother of 4.
Yes.
So you see on a day-to-day basis what the repercussions are from playing sport. Do you have any trepidation in allowing your children to play sports?
So I have 2 girls and 2 boys. My girls have zero interest in sweating at all. They're not like me. They don't play any sports. They are both into theater and music, which is great as well. My boys play one of the highest risk sports around. They're both competitive gymnasts, which the risk of head injury in particular is pretty high. And they've had their fair shares of musculoskeletal injuries, broken bones, etc. But you got to let a kid be a kid. So neither of my boys ever asked to play football. I don't know what the answer would have been if they did ask, but they have no interest. I feel collision sports are certainly would make me hesitant. So ice hockey and football would make me hesitate. But again, kids need to learn, and kids need to be kids. And they're going to get injured no matter what they do. My older son is 14, and he's a very high level gymnast. And, some of his stupider injuries happened falling off his scooter outside my home. So it doesn't necessarily happen at the, when they're being spotted by their coaches in a safe environment, as safe as gymnastics can be. So, you have to let them kind of sow their oats and figure it out.
So 2 competitive gymnasts,
Yes.
2 theater and music lovers,
Mm-hmm.
a mom that's competing in CrossFit at the highest level, and as a doctor. How do you do it all?
I am very, very organized as far as time. So I schedule things out that most people don't schedule. So if you looked at my appointment scheduling, my logbook, everything is written out when I'm going to do this, that, and the other. My husband and I literally have a work meeting every Sunday, and we look at the schedule together to see who's picking up which kid at what time are you training, what time am I training. And my staff in my office also very fully understands that my schedule needs to be pristine, my office schedule, so that the moment that I'm supposed to be done, I'm out the door, because my work schedule is scheduled according to when I need to be at the gym as well. So I don't have very many other hobbies. I don't watch TV. I don't have much time to read, because every moment is already accounted for. Like if a kid has a concert on, school concert one night, I have to kind of know that ahead of time so that I can rearrange my schedule, so that sometimes work gets a little bit cut short and sometimes the gym gets a little cut short, because those are my two big commitments. And, I will have time to make it to the kids' concert, so that I, just by kind of cutting short 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there from work and from the gym. And it just kind of works for me. I've always been a very organized, and some people might say OCD kind of person. And that kind of, it works in my extremely hectic life.
So your husband, going back to your Instagram, looks like at one time he was a power lifter, and he was doing it at a very high level. Yes. Because he was at the Arnold, which is very near and dear to my heart because it's here in Columbus, Ohio. Yep. And I used to work that as security for a while. Oh, so is he as busy as you are, or can he pick up some slack?
So my husband is ex-military. So he was in the Army National Guard for, I believe, 13 years. In 2008, he was in Iraq for a year when my oldest was just a wee pup. And when he came home from Iraq, he stayed home for a while. He did his drilling for the National Guard and what have you, but he did stay home. He did a little bit of academics, and he got his master's in education. In 2014, he wasn't able to find a job on Long Island. Long Island, getting a teaching job is near impossible. So he decided, because he had a strong passion for fitness and he had learned about CrossFit when he was in Iraq, when he came home, we started doing some CrossFitting, and then we opened a gym in 2014, which we owned for 4 years, and he was doing that full time. We did sell that gym, and he thought he was going to go back to education, go back to teaching. And again, very difficult at that time to find a job. So like a bunch of suckers, we opened another gym, which we currently own. And he did that again full-time for quite some time. And last year, he really had that hankering. He really, really wants to teach. He's very, very smart. He's a history buff. That's his specialty. And as an ex-military, he has this passion for it. So he decided last year to enroll in Teach for America. And he just finished his first year of teaching in an underserved community in Queens. So he leaves the house at 4:30 in the morning, and he comes home at 7:30 at night. It used to be that he was able to pick up the afternoon stuff with the kids, but now a lot of it does, I say fall on me, but doesn't, I'm the one who organizes the babysitter who has to pick up the kids in order to bring them to the places that they need to be. And, if all heck breaks loose, then I do have to, sometimes I'll have to leave the office and pick a kid up from school if they're sick or what have you, where he used to do that. So that's been a huge change this year. I thought it was going to be harder than it actually turned out to be. It actually was okay. I was terrified that I wasn't going to be able to keep up, but we make it work. He does his fair share. He busts his chops on the weekends, make sure, helps with the cleaning and all that kind of stuff. Cause that's the kind of thing that has to be pushed to the wayside when, both of us are out of the house for an ungodly number of hours every day.
Okay. So you're a business owner, you're a doctor, you have 4 kids, your husband is traveling into New York City to teach every day. How do you have time to volunteer at the Fight for the Fittest as head judge?
So I know you know Sam and Kelly. So I've known Sam and Kelly since 2016. They came to the first gym that I owned at Mount Sinai CrossFit. And we just became very friendly. Sam and I worked out together a ton. And he had this interest in 2020, I guess it was, to try to put together a community-based competition. And we actually did that in my gym at RX Fit in Rocky Point. And we had a really great time. I sort of became the head judge because, again, I'm very OCD and I see things and I like for people to move well and follow the rules. So I just kind of got stuck with that. I was also Kelly's probably still on. She gave me a lot of titles. One of them was like shirt bitch, and I've gotten all different titles from the Fight for the Fittest, but I've continued to judge for them, help with some of the programming, help with writing rule books and stuff like that. Do I have time for it? No, but a lot of this is done because, we're good friends to this day. And if we ever do have the chance to hang out, that's kind of what we talk about. We have a group chat between the three of us, and we bounce questions off each other pretty much all day long, especially when it starts getting closer. And it's a ton of fun. It's, something different rather than doing the activity, planning the activity. And again, when it comes to being OCD, that's fun for me. And probably more OCD than me is Kelly. So we work really well together. And Sam is just, he's just a flighty kind of guy, and it's great.
So I believe this is Sam. So I'm not saying this because HQ is one of my best friends, but she is one of the most kind and giving individuals I've ever known. I've watched her fitness journey since 2016, and we are so excited for her.
Thanks, Sam.
So with all of this, you have qualified for the CrossFit Games for the first time ever.
Right.
You are a rookie in the 45 to 49-year-old division. That sounds weird to say, but you're heading to the games for the first time. What does that mean to you?
It's insane. I've been trying to get to this point since I was 39. When I was 39 was the first year that they had the 35 to 39 division. So that was the first year that I, really pushed to try to make it pretty high up there. Certainly I didn't achieve that, but as the years got on, I was getting closer and closer. In the last couple of years, I've really, I've been working with an individual coach, and I've been really upping my training and really focusing on weaknesses. And just to see this come to fruition is just unbelievable. The amount of sacrifice, both, between me and my family, that we've put in to try to get to this point. I came incredibly close last year, and it was almost, fire under my butt to say, like, you're there. You just need a little extra push. And here we are.
If I remember right, if it were this year's rules, you would have qualified last year.
Correct.
Yeah. How cool is it that they have expanded this? Are you excited or disappointed that it's moved away from the main festival?
I always wanted to go to the main festival, and I never did, and probably will never go to the main festival unless I was somehow involved, just because, again, time, I don't have it. But I think it's great. I've been to Legends in the past in 2022, and I love that we're all normal people who have jobs and have family and have kids, and it's super fun to meet these people. A lot of these people that I've quote unquote met over the past 14 years online, that I would think they're very close friends of mine, but I've never literally met them in person. So I think, having it as a separate event where we're the main show. So, everybody's watching us. I think it's great. It's only selfish reasons. Like, I would love to go to the games one day just to watch, because, I love CrossFit and I love the athletes, but I'm glad that our show is our show.
I am too. I'm glad you guys get the opportunity to be highlighted, because what you do is amazing. And what most people probably don't even realize is this underserved community from 35 to 50, collectively, you have almost 3 million followers on Instagram.
It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
It's great.
You know, and I think the more you are highlighted and the more that you are shown to the world, the better that's going to get for all of you.
Absolutely.
So who are you taking with you to Birmingham?
So one of my very close friends, Charlotte Moriarty, she's actually a sports medicine doctor up in Rhode Island.
Yeah, she was at Legends last year.
She was at Legends last year, and actually we are one of those sets of friends that we kind of met online, and we ended up never meeting before and ended up doing Masters Fitness Collective together just through Instagram, and had a blast, and we've been close friends since. So she's coming down, and then my husband, pending getting off from work, his first week of school is that week, so he's trying to see if he can get off that Friday. Unfortunately, bringing all 4 kids is not going to work out. My younger sister, thank goodness, is able to come watch them, and I believe that my in-laws will be there. My in-laws actually moved to Georgia a few years ago, and so it's a couple-hour drive for them, so I think they're going to be there. But really just, my husband, Charlotte, and probably my in-laws, and then tons of people will be following my Instagram feed, because I know a lot of people wanted to be there, Sam and Kelly included, but unfortunately it's a schlep. It's a big job to get down there.
Well, the good news is they're streaming it this year.
Yep.
So everybody they can have a watch party in New York.
Absolutely.
And cheer you on from there, because we want eyes on this as much as possible through stream or through being there. So this keeps growing and growing.
Absolutely.
What are your realistic expectations at the games?
Well, I just want to really go down there and have a blast. I've been working really hard for this, and the prize is that I made it. Everything past this is kind of gravy. Certainly, finishing in the top 10 in the world in the semifinals was unbelievably great. And if I could stay in that heat, in that, elite heat, that would be amazing. But it is whatever shows up, and as long as I have fun and hopefully stay healthy, that's really all I can ask for.
How much did it mean to you that you would have qualified under the old rules this year?
It's a little bittersweet, because last year I finished in 18th, and if the roles were reversed, I would go for 2 years in a row, but obviously they're not. But it's great. The top, 40 people in our age group, they're all badasses. So anybody that finished in that top 40, I mean, it's unreal. And a slight of, little change in this workout or that workout, I could have easily been 35th, but, the cards just fell beautifully in my pocket, and I executed well. So 10th is great, and I'm glad that I would have made it last year too. But anything in the top 40 is just amazing.
So last question, do you like to race? Like, are you excited to get out there on the floor head to head with other athletes after this long season of online competition?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of experience. I've only been to one individual competition before, and that was Legends 2022. And I enjoyed the racing. The only other time I competed on a big stage was Masters Fitness, and that was as a team, and I loved that as well. But I feel like it's going to give me a little bit extra fire, just having people around me who are, seriously fit, like crazy fit. And I think that'll help me, and it'll light a fire. And I think, in the Masters community, at least, we all walk off the big stage and we're hugging each other. So whatever happens, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun with a lot of really cool people that, all have similar interests and similar desires, and we all know what we're going through. We all, can push each other equally. It's not super cutthroat like I think the individual process probably is. We're all trying to lift each other up. So I think that part of it in itself is going to be just unbelievable.
So I'm going to finish this with just a wacky question that came in the chat. And it says that Hayley sounds like such a hardworking badass, but I wonder if she's scared of spiders.
I'm not scared of spiders. I'd prefer them not be there, but I'm usually the one who's killing them. So I'm not scared of spiders. There are other things I'm scared of, actually. Certain bugs that I am scared of.
But you'll keep that to yourself.
Those damn flying crickets, man. You never know. They might jump up and fly right into your mouth. Those things are crazy.
So when I lived in Florida, we had the big palmetto beetles.
Oh yeah.
They're like just mega cockroaches. Oh,
no, thank you.
I wasn't afraid of them. They just grossed me out.
Yeah.
So can't wait to meet you in person. We're going to be in Birmingham. We got granted full access to do a behind the scenes. So we're going to be, Ellie Hiller and myself will be behind the scenes, chatting with all the athletes, recording those conversations, and making a highlight video of all of that. It'll actually come out in episodes through afterwards. So you'll be able to relive the experience if you have time to sit down and watch YouTube for a couple minutes.
That's great. I appreciate that you're doing that. That's awesome.
With that, thank you to everybody in the chat. And I'll leave it with this. A fight for the fist. We love you. With that, thank you everybody in the chat. This was an awesome experience for me getting to know you. And we will see everybody next time on the Clydesdale Media Podcast. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Scott.